Hello, my friends. So I wanted to pop on here today and first address that I changed my Instagram to Jana's Wisdom. And the reason I did that is because I love running, I really do, but there's a different part of me that knows on a soul level that it is my dharma and my mission to teach about the undercover wisdom I know about the universe. And I love to hide behind running, I love to hide behind my mathematical mind, but it's my coming out party, okay? And I had this lovely idea given to me via spirit, so let's go through it. Today what we're gonna start with is a lesson. So I have my little grids and charts here. So there's two ways to live your life. One is linearly, logically, right? That's sometimes called the divine masculine, which is depicted on the black chart. We're gonna go through it and I'm gonna draw it right here. And then we're gonna do the quantum, which is the divine feminine on the pink. So I'm gonna show you the differences and we're gonna kind of go through some examples. So I hope you love my wisdom. So the logical and the linear, let's see if I can do this so you can see it as I'm drawing, right? Point 1, you're born, right? Point 2, you go to high school. Very logical line. Then maybe you go to college. Maybe you run in college like I did. Then you go on, maybe you get a master's degree, a professional degree. Maybe you just start working, whatever it is. Your next logical step is to go out and get a degree. So this line is very logical right now. Very linear. Then you somehow magically find a husband, a wife, whatever it is, you buy a home. It's the next point. You have some kids and you just kind of stay put. You have some gatherings for Christmas, family, all of the things. This is the logical way to live life, right? And so all of these points on my grid are just different life stages, different life events. So you end up with a very logical line, very straight, right? It's not a lot of leeway. You can maybe go plus or minus 20% in either direction. Maybe you have a high one day, a low one day, but for the most part, you're just on a grid like that. Here's the quantum. The thing about the logical, though, is I do want to say is that you only have a capacity to get so high, and honestly this might have been kind of drawn the wrong way because the logical line is probably more actually realistically like this, right? Very mellow. So it's actually probably more the second line, which is this one right here. Very mellow. And the reason being is I'm going to show you what the quantum way is and we're going to see how it differentiates, okay? The quantum way now. This is the way that most people don't live. However, it's going to take you far greater and far higher places in your life. Point 1, you're born, right? Kind of same starting point. I mean, everyone has different starting points in life, but this is relative to your life mission, right? So there's different timelines that you can access in your own life. So we're not comparing outside, we're comparing our internal, the choices that we have to make our lives. So logical is one way, quantum is the other way. Now this is the quantum, right? You say you're born at the same point as your logical. Maybe you got off track a little bit. Maybe you went to school, right? Like I did. You went to college. Kind of started on track with the logical, right? Then you run a 5K magically in 1648. I don't know how the fuck you got there. But our point is now up here at 18 years old. 4th fastest time in the NCAA. Don't know how that happened. As my 5K VR in high school was on grass and cross country and around 18-ish flat, and somehow I run 1648 as a freshman in college. So that's the quantum, right? So then you run 1648 and you're way up here. The thing about the quantum is that you use a large energy exposure to get all the way up here. Right, and I'm going to kind of show you. So then after that, you're back to running 1811s. So you're way back down here again, probably like the logical person, almost at the same spot, right? But you had that experience, and you're like, what in the world happened? How did I do that? So it makes you think. So now you're running 1811s, you know, you somehow by your junior year, you're back to like 1711s. Not saying this is a true story. It is 1000% a true story. So now we're running 1711s, right? In our senior year, we finally run a 1628. So now we're way up here. So this is what happened in the quantum, right? It's very scattered. We're all over the place, right? And so what happens next is, you know, maybe you actually go down a little bit into the logical mind. So you run your 1628, right? You hit a high. Maybe you go into the logical mind and you decide you want to go get a doctorate degree. So you go do that. So that's not really in the quantum. That's kind of a logical thing. So you're kind of going down. Then you find a boyfriend there. He kind of brings you down a little bit more because, you know, the men do that. They love their logic. They get you wrapped up in the logical mind. This is not a men hating video. This is not the intention of that. Then, you know, you somehow have a spiritual awakening. You don't know what your spirit guides did. You don't know what's up and what's down, but suddenly you're way the fuck up here. You've had an experience now. Now you're way the hell up here. Now look at this logical person. Whether you're on this line or this line, you're in a very logical linear life, right? Maybe if you're on the quantum path like I am, your line is like this. You're up and down. But the overall trajectory is up. But some days you're just completely down, right? So then after your spiritual awakening, well, then you try to figure out what the hell happened to you in your logical mind. So now you're back down here because we're back to logical. Right? The second you try to figure things out logical, you're going back down, right? You're back on the logical line. So then you just get over it and you wonder that you're just never going to figure it out. So you continue on with your life and you decide to choose joy and happiness and pleasure. So now we're kind of back on the upswing, right? And then all of a sudden you have another moment up here. You decide you're going to sell your car, you're going to sell your home, and you're just going to move your life to Hawaii. And now you're all the way up here. Now, the normal person lives one life, and they're on this small little logical line where things don't change, and they just get married to their little divine counterpart that they met in high school. And then you have the other way, the quantum. Now, the quantum is going to take you far greater places. So if you really want to reach that running PR, you need to get your ass in the quantum, because when you're on this logical line, you can only run as fast as this logical line lets you. But when you do things quantumly, well, now you have an experience like this, right? And so, yeah, this is how I was guided to live my life. This is actually the highest aspect of the divine feminine, and I just feel like it's my dharma, my calling to start sharing more of the knowledge that I do have, because I know that it's going to help a lot of people out there. So this is just lesson 1 at the moment. This is just kind of a brief intro of our logical, which is kind of the linear way, you know, buy a home, buy a car, stay with these things for 30 years, pay it off the mortgage. Or you have the quantum. You somehow run a 1648, 4th fastest in the NCAA, only to run an 1811 6 months later. Then you get yourself up a little bit, you're running 1711s, right? And you magically run a 1628. Right, that's the next peak. Then you go and decide you want a doctorate degree, you get a boyfriend, they kind of bring you logically down, right? And so then spirit calls you to have a spiritual awakening. Did this happen to me? This is based on a true story, right? So now we're way up here again. So we started down here. Now the logical person at this point in their life is probably right around here, if we're following the trajectory. Now my life is way up here. How did we get here? A couple ups and downs, right? But I wouldn't have it any other way, because that's true acceptance of the quantum, right? And so when you try to logically figure things out, you go down. When you embrace and accept the quantum and you jump all in with zero evidence and proof well, you just created yourself a masterpiece, and you're going higher and higher now in the energy realm. And I know there's a lot of people who are living their life like this, and let's say they want a PR that's just a bit out of their reach, and they can't maybe get to their PR from living their life logically. You need to live your life like this. Never in my 1 million lifetimes, I'm not going to say that, never in my life did I really think that I would be the person running a 1648 as a freshman in college. Do you know what happened after that? I was like the 4th fastest woman in the NCAA. Jordan Hissay being number 1. If you know Jordan Hissay, she's in my grade. And it's just interesting to watch how spirit works, right? Because if you really want that new fast running time, and you want something a little bit out of your comfort level, and you really want that out of the box experience, whether it's a running time, a car that's out of your price range, a home, a life experience, you have to learn to play in the quantum. And this is what I mean by playing in the quantum, right? It's jumping in, letting yourself stabilize, jumping higher, letting yourself stabilize. Because you don't want to completely forget about the logical aspect, but sometimes you do need to make some logical moves, right? And so we'll talk about that in a deeper episode. But this is episode 1. I hope you understand the premise, and wishing you all good one. Hope you like my new Instagram, Jana's Wisdom. Follow, like, comment, subscribe for more.